Throughout the day, GBNews has been reporting on the fact that 8 boats have crossed over from Calais and the north coast of France today, totalling another 350 migrants entering this country unlawfully. So this goes just to show the significance of tonight's votes and why it matters. But what should we make of the situation in the Channel? With me now on my panel is former editor of The Sun, the legendary Kelvin Mackenzie, and the historian and broadcaster Tessa Dunlops. Kelvin, you've been around politics longer than I have. Have you seen repeated efforts to control issues of illegal migration fail?
Yes, and I suspect that we're going to see, when this bill finally sails through later on tonight, the beginning of this one failing. I didn't agree with the lawyer, the lefty lawyer on there.
Shaikh.
Because actually with Ukraine, the people were coming in and they were going back. And in fact, there's lots of examples I can think, even within my own family, who took them in. Yeah, took them in, and now they're heading back, often for holidays and stuff like that. It's an amazing thing we've done, and that's great. These people are coming here and they're staying here, and they're going to, and whether they're going to bring anything to our country, I don't know. But what I do know, and I do agree with that guy on one point, is that our nation has turned out to be a magnet for every single problem around the world. We cannot cope. We're a small island. Let France, which has 5 times the space, let them have them all. I'm quite happy for that.
Tessa Dunlops.
What staggers me is to watch this existential Conservative Party crisis play out, both in Westminster and then in its television overspill, GBNews, and in you all are fighting away blindly with each other like this, occasionally coming up for air and back at it, even when we know that the final result is a fait accompli. It will pass tonight, the final vote, despite all the hot air that's come steaming off the rebels' bald heads, and in the end, it will fail, it will bounce back against the courts, and there will predictably be an election. I don't understand why it's this hill the Conservatives had chosen to die on. This is the one thing they can't renege on. They renege on HS2, they renege on North Sea drilling, they renege on schools, they renege on the NHS, but on a few immigrants coming across the Channel, they will die on that hill.
By the way, it's not a few, by the way. There's about 200,000. If you want them all living down your road, why don't you just say so?
Funnily enough, my brother...
Do you want them? What are you going to do with the 200,000? What would you do with them? Do you want more of them, or do you want less of them?
Funnily enough, my brother houses a family of Ukrainians.
Well, so what? I'm asking you whether you do.
No, I don't, because I don't have the space. I live in London. He lives in spacious Scotland, and it works incredibly well.
Well,
and it's
my family has a Ukrainian in them, right. But what we don't have, and I wouldn't want it, and my family do not take in tens of thousands of people that come from a long way away with a lot of cultural baggage which we don't possess.
So what are you saying?
Cultural baggage.
You take a white European, but you wouldn't take...
I would take a white European who wants to go back to their nation. I do not want to take a bunch of Syrians or a bunch of Afghans, which is what the lefty
fleeing, but you said Syrians...
No refugees. We have done our bit, and what's happening in the world, it's so dangerous. Hold on. It is so dangerous out there that every single country in the world says the place we must get to is get to the GB. Right.
What do you think, just pausing, allow me to ask one question of you, Tessa. What do you think, this idea that the country isn't necessarily full up, the space in parts of the country, but there's a feeling that our public services are overwhelmed and can't cope with people arriving here?
Can they cope?
But it's several things.
That's what
One, the idea that a spurious vote on Rwanda for a scheme that is going to get us illegally enmeshed in a fight once again with Europe is going to somehow deter the few asylum seekers that are trying to cross the Channel.
So why do you think they're few?
Why don't we, for example, with the case of Afghanistan, where we went in and we fought on their soil,
taken 14,000 from Afghanistan,
inviting many of them to interpret, to give us safe homes, to look after us when we were in their country.
14,000 is not a few.
Well,
do you think that's a few?
Let us finish.
14,000 relative to the numbers who have been left in limbo, many of them waiting in places like Pakistan, now about to be rejected back out of Pakistan. Actually, it's not good enough.
It's a moral duty to somebody like interpreters in
thank
Afghanistan.
you very much. And actually, I find...
We have taken the moral high ground, and we have 14,000 sitting alongside us.
I feel deeply uncomfortable in the 21st century, sitting beside you. Off air, I'm comfortable around you. But to hear you on live television,
why don't you leave then, Tessa, if you feel uncomfortable? I feel very comfortable listening to your liberal ranting.
Between a white, Christian, predominantly European country and those coming from countries where the majority are non-white. It was what you were inferring.
No, I was saying the Ukrainians, they come and they go, right? These people all want to come here and stay. I say we can't come.
I say, well, the Taliban's in charge in Afghanistan. I welcome any Afghan.
Do you really?
They helped us when
clearly
we were in
gone
their
quite
country.
mad.
I have not gone mad.
Quite mad.
Wow, 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 wow. Well, I'll tell you what, you folks across the pond, you British patriots across the seas of the Atlantic, oh my God, this Tessa Dunlops, what a piece of work she is. This is the first time actually that I've heard her speak and rant. You talk about a leftist, liberal lunatic. Virtue signaling. I don't know how often, but she polished her halo big time the night before she came onto this show. I mean, she's out there polishing that halo, virtue signaling from her perch up there, talking about these illegal immigrants that are coming across the English Channel in boats. They said a couple hundred just came in today. And she keeps talking about a few when the numbers are absolutely staggering. The gentleman said over 200,000 have come. And she keeps saying it's just a few. Just a few. You know, we have the same situation occurring on this side of the pond, folks, in America. We've got our southern border where instead of coming across in boats, they're just walking across, of course, hundreds, sometimes 1,000 miles, coming in a caravan with the help of the Mexican drug cartels, which is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry in terms of the money that's being paid to bring them across. And the Biden administration doesn't give a rat's ass about that at all. Now, we've had the same thing where people are escaping Cuba, coming from Cuba, you know, to Florida. But that's like a 90, 100-mile trip across treacherous waters as well. But we are separated on one side in the Atlantic, one side in the Pacific. Could you imagine if some of these continents were even closer to us from the seas, what would be happening from our eastern and western seaboards in America, which you folks are seeing going across the British Channel? I mean, it is absolutely incredible. It's just mind-boggling. And the way that these guys, how will you cope? Can you be the destination for the world? Can Britain? Are they going to be able, with their services, health services, school services, I mean, everything, job security? I mean, how will you continue to house the world? How's that going to happen? It's the same question we ask in the United States of America. All of the people, all the governors, everybody, until Governor Abbott down in Texas decide to send, in the beginning, just a few busloads to Martha's Vineyard. Exclusive, multi-million-dollar properties. The getaway for the hoity polloi, the uber rich, to Martha's Vineyard. And when they got there, the Martha's Vineyard, oh, they're so liberal up there. They're so leftist up there, always talking about, you know what, we need to be a sanctuary nation, a sanctuary city. We need to house illegals. We need to house these migrants. We need to help them as much as possible. They got those migrants out of there so fast, it wasn't even funny, folks. They literally got buses and sent them over to an army base. That's the hypocrisy of the left, because it's always somebody else's problem. Tessa doesn't have to face it. Like she said, she lives in a flat in London. She doesn't have any room for herself, basically. She's not facing a migrant crisis, no. But everybody else is, but they virtue signal from their perch with their halos, polished brightly, you know, basically just blinding everybody to what's going on in the world, and it's happening in England. And just like the gentleman said, let France take them. No other Muslim country is stepping up to take these ones here. No other countries are stepping up to take them, to house them. But they're coming to Britain. They're coming to the United States of America. That's what's happening, and they're coming illegally. It needs to be on meritocracy. It needs to be slowed down tremendously. That's why in America, when Trump says build the wall, we need to build the wall so we can stop the inflow of illegal aliens, take a stock of how many illegal aliens we have inside here, what are the needs of this country. If there's a need for something, you know what? Do a work visa program for it, meritocracy, and go that way. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so, we'd love for you to subscribe to this channel, like, share, and follow us. You all know what to do. Comment below. Take a look at our videos here and below. My final thought, as always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.